So airlines, is it the right time to add airline stocks to your portfolio and hopefully get that much needed growth? Because airlines are, well, they're struggling right now. In this video, I'm going to be talking about, is it the right time to buy airlines, why you should and should not look at airlines, but more importantly, I hear you asking, which is my favorite airlines that I might be buying this month? So welcome to LWT Trading. If you are new here, please do me that kind favor and hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell if you're feeling extra horny. And if you could do me the kindest favor and help me out with the YouTube algorithm by just clicking that like button until it turns blue, and we can now get on with the video. Airline stocks, will they go up at the end of the year? Well, with travel and things starting to slowly open because of this Miley Cyrus virus, I think that a lot of people are looking at airlines thinking, well, you know, they are really undervalued. They haven't turned over a profit in the last 2 quarters pretty much, and they should be a good long-term hold, right? They should go up to an altitude of 20,000 feet and stay there and pay me good dividends. Not necessarily the case, and I'll tell you why. And the first reason why you should not really be looking at airlines, and just to be clear, I will be covering why you should buy airlines as well. I just want to be a bit of a devil's advocate here, is the travel ban. Well, although restrictions are lifting, there's rumors there might be a second lockdown, there's rumors there might not be, and different countries are going to have different restrictions. For example, here in Hungary, we're not really accepting countries like, the US right now. I think that might be changing actually this week. We're not accepting people from, Africa, we're not accepting people from certain parts of Asia, so it is country dependent. So that will affect the sort of airline you pick. So for example, if you're picking, Jet2, and majority of their flights go from UK to Spain, as an example. Again, that's just speculation, but I'm pretty sure it's probably quite accurate. And Spain doesn't allow UK visitors, then you need to take that into account when you're looking at buying Jet2 stock. Now again, that is just an example. I know Jet2 are allowed to fly to Spain, just to be clear, don't hit me up in the comments. I'm like, no, that's not true and factual. It was just an example of what you need to look for. Another thing you should be wary of is the travel restrictions on the plane. So there's talk that they won't be at full capacity, you will have to wear a mask. They might put, one seat empty, one person, one seat empty, something along these lines, one row empty. We don't really know what the general rule of thumb will be. But as it stands, I don't think that they can fly a plane with full capacity, and I think that there will be massive implications if someone gets on the plane with no symptoms and a clear test and gets off the plane and then has COVID, because that leaves you open to, I think, quite a lot of lawsuits, legally speaking. And the other big thing to think about is the airlines you're picking is how much debt have they accumulated during this whole Miley Cyrus pandemic, because quite frankly, these companies haven't been operating. All they've been doing is just building up debt. Airlines have been sat on airports. Still, majority of them are paying bills, paying staff, etc. I know some are furloughed, some are not, but that is again airline dependent. So how long will it take for them to pay off this debt and get back to normal? And that is something you need to really consider when you're looking at your airline stocks to buy in this current marketplace. That was a bit of a weird accent I put on just there. Oh, hooby-doo. But now, why should you buy airlines? Well, quite frankly, I do think some of them are a good long-term hold. And if you get the right airline at the right price, then they can pay you some substantial dividends, but also you could 1x, 2x your money in the long term if the world reopens and the previous is covered. As travel is starting to reopen and most countries have their holiday years from April to April, or their tax years as well, people have a lot of holidays to take. So everybody who's been locked down for 3 months have built up all these holidays and they still need to use them. They've also got a lot of money sat in account unless they've been investing their stimulus checks in Tesla, which seems to be the case. And a lot of people are really upset that I don't think Tesla's a buy right now. I guess facts hurt. Moving on. Another reason why airlines might be actually a good buy is the fact that tickets are going to come down. I think that airfares and things like that are going to come drastically down with these restrictions, especially if planes are not being full. So certain destinations might become quite cheap, which will push up the prices. But I also think that there may be more routes. For example, Wizz Air, a Hungarian company, they're quite big in Europe, and they were looking at adding flights to another 3 destinations to the UK, I think another destination to Spain. So they were actually looking at expanding before COVID. Now, yes, they may not expand instantly, but with this, airports taking the massive hit and businesses like restaurants and bars inside the airport really struggling, they may add more routes at a cheaper rate from airport to airport. So what happens is when an airline, wants to fly from, say, Budapest to Barcelona, is they have to pay a docking fee at Barcelona Airport and Budapest Airport. Now, these are favorable rates depending on tax, depending on how many people, blah, 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 blah. But right now, there's no one flying, so they need to entice people. So I do think more airline routes will open, in turn adding more potentials for growth for said company. Now, that's not saying Wizz Air, again, it's just an example. Please, bear with me till we get over to the Magical Mac and go through the fundamentals of some companies which I think might be worth buying. So before we get there, please do hit that like button until it turns blue. No, seriously, do. Please hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. And a final reason that not many people might think of is these smaller airlines. Airlines that have a lower market cap might actually be facing bankruptcy in the long term, or get a cheap buyout from a bigger airline. Now, again, this is sort of speculation and maybe seeing 2020 into the future. And I mean 2020 vision, not the year. That's confusing, I shouldn't say that again. But what I am saying is that smaller airlines may get their routes bought up by bigger airlines who can weather the storm. Things like Ryanair. Ryanair may look at buying a smaller company, just taking over their planes, buying out their routes. Or if that said company goes bankrupt, then that's more space for Ryanair, Wizz Air, and Delta Airlines, all these bigger companies to come in and just, clean up the pieces and take up that profit. So without further ado, let's get over to the Magical Mac and we can go through some of these stocks and which ones I am literally watching, but more importantly, which ones I'm not watching. There is quite a lot of them I am not watching. I'm still sort of sat on the fence with airlines in general, as you can probably tell from these two whys and whys nots. But there is one or two I am genuinely looking at buying and adding to my portfolio within the next 30 days if things look good. So let's get over to the Mac. So when it comes to looking for stocks, I tend to, especially if it's in a sector, I tend to go to simply Wall Street. They have very good fundamental basis. Their charting is not the best, to be honest, so there I use TradingView, and then I go over to the filings and have a little bit of a more dig around before I make a decision. The good thing about this is we can just click airlines and we can just concentrate on them sectors. I've already picked out some of the ones that I want to talk about, names that everybody knows, and we can go and have a look at them. And we are going to start with Southwest Airlines. And we're going to run through these very quickly and do a very quick XL. So LUV, Southwest, good value. Let's have a look. So on the chart, just going on the chart alone, currently at $34 a share. Before COVID and end of the year, it was at 56. So that's quite a decent value going up if we get back to them previous highs. Given the market sector, we're 44% undervalued. And yeah, let's do that one right now. So as far as value goes, I'm going to put this one at probably a potential 12. I think that's not too bad out of 15. But the risk, I'm also going to put this at a, I think it's quite a high risk. So, the sector itself. So I'm probably going to put that at maybe a 4. And dividend rating, let's get down to the dividends. There is no dividends, so we can also put that at a 1. Recent insider buying, let's have a look. Ownership, no shares bought. Actually, shares were recently sold by institutions and insiders, so we can also put that at a 1. PE ratio is also a negative, and so is the PEG, so we can put them also at very low scores. So that gives us a 1.8 out of 5, so a 1.8 stars. Okay, so that's Southwest. Now, just coming onto it, I'm not saying that it's a bad investment, but it's not something I'd be looking at right now. Maybe if we can get a dip and get under 30, it might be more interesting to me value-wise. But going on the value alone, if we have a look at their financial health as well, they have a very good financial health, but I think that their growth is just not there. All the other analysts, the dividend, the PE ratio, is just screaming to me, be very careful. So for me, it's a 1.8. It's not bad. I've traded stuff less, but let's see. Lufthansa, the big German airline. If you don't know what that is, then you should. Very big company. Let's look at the valuation. sorry, let's look at the share price first. We can see that we are currently at €8 and it used to be at 17. So I think that Lufthansa is probably good value because we can nearly double our money. So I'm going to put that down as a 12. Risk, I'm going to put this as a 5 because it does tend to have a lot of backing from the government. Still high risk, don't get me wrong. Dividend, very, very small dividend, but conservative. Let's put that in at 2. Recent insider, nothing. Need to put that at 1 as well, sorry. So KLM is a little bit better. PE ratio is negative, and so is the PEG, so 1 and 1. So Lufthansa is a 2.2 out of 5. So again, not the best. Their financial health as well is short-term pretty bad, but long-term pretty good. And yeah, there's a lot more fundamentals. If you've got any like particular stocks like Lufthansa you want me to go through, let me know in the comments and I'll do a specific video for them. I don't mind doing that from time to time. This is very generic, which is my favorite airlines. And genuinely, one of these airlines I will be looking at buying very, very soon. And this is my actual process of me going through how I look at airlines and how I look at stocks in general to find play. I've got no holdings in airline sector, so it's something I am looking at, or aviation. Right, Ryanair. If you don't know who Ryanair is, then yeah, I think you need to Google it because they are a damn big company. Ryanair, let's have a look at their share price. We currently had a bit of a bounce, 11 to 15, and I think that is probably just because Ryanair is a very big household name, and I think that with the aviation coming up, everyone sort of jumped to Ryanair. They know they've got a big business model. They always weather a storm. And I think that that's why Ryanair has had this boost up, just from people, I need an aviation stock, let's pick Ryanair. And I think that's pretty much what it's been. But as far as value goes, I still think there's a lot of value there. I mean, you're looking at, a good, 20+%, coming down to the, the fair value, 36%. So yeah, I'm going to put that down as maybe a 9. The risk, I'm going to put that down as probably an 8. And the dividend rating, let's have a look. We have 0 dividends, so that goes down as a 1. Recent insider buying, 0 again, so that's a 1. PE ratio, again, we can't really go on PE ratios too much in this market because everyone's losing money, but their PE ratio is quite high, so that goes down as a 1. And the PEG is quite low, but I don't really believe that too much, to be honest. So let's go 1 and let's go 2. Ryanair is a 2.2 as well. Coming down to their financial health, like I said, they've got a lot of assets in short term. Not, 2 billion, it might sound a lot, but it's not a lot if you weigh in they've got 3 times as many assets long term. Ryanair's probably one of my favorite airlines I'm looking at, to be honest, just because of their business model is so damn good. But again, it's not a perfect trade right now. American Airlines Group, which is ticker AAL. Coming down to the chart, we are trading at $14 and it used to be 28, so I think that's quite damn good value, 82% undervalued. So as far as value goes, if we get back up there, let's put that at a 13. The risk, again, I'm probably going to put that down as a 3 or a 4. In fact, I'm going to put that as probably a 4, yeah. And the dividend rating, which I'm pretty sure we shouldn't have, we've got a small one. Let's put that down as a 2. Recent insider buying, ownership. We have got some recent insider buying, first time. That's quite good. I'm going to put that down as a 4. PE ratio, negative, and the PEG is also negative, so 1 and a 1. So we've got a 2.5, highest so far. So AAL is probably the favorite in terms of my thing. The only thing I really don't like about it is their financial health, which is not too good. The assets and liabilities long-term pretty much outweigh each other, and they've got a short-term deficit of 5 billion. Not that bad, especially for airlines, but they've also got a very high debt equity. And again, it's just something that personally for me, I'd be very skeptical of. EasyJet is a massive European company and quite undervalued. £5 and used to be 15. Current undervaluation is 74%. This is probably the highest one. I'm going to put that as a 13, just to be fair. Risk, I'm probably going to put EasyJet again in the higher than the others, around about probably 6, because it is a damn big company and they've got a hell of a lot of routes and they've got a good long-lasting business model. The dividend, we have a high dividend, so I'm going to probably put that at a 3 or a 4. Again, they may not pay that out soon, but But that said, it is in the company's interest long term. They've got insider buying and selling, so I'm probably going to put that one at probably a 3. PE ratio, we've got a positive, well, semi-positive PE ratio of 9, which is below the market and the industry. And we've got a good PEG, well, I don't believe that too much either, but I'm going to probably put that at a 3 and a 2. And then if we add these together, so 3.5 stars out of 10. Now, EasyJet, just to give it a fair thing, if we look at their financial health, we can see that they actually have a deficit of 1 billion, but they have got nearly 3 times as much long-term liabilities coverage. So they're my favorites. Now, out of them going on it, probably I'm more favorable to the European markets just because they're a little bit further ahead of this Miley Cyrus virus and they've got a quicker chance of recovery. Also, throw in a US election, I think that things could change massively there, whereas the EU and the European sort of era has a bit more stability. So I do favor, to be honest, the European airlines over the American ones in the short term. But also as well, I do think the growth is more with the European airlines, and we can sort of see that here. Now, this little XL is something that I just knocked up myself. It's something I always use as a marker point. I always am editing it and things like that, and like, you know, changing it from week to week if I'm looking at a new stock. And if I'm in a position, I am always tweaking it and stuff like that. Doesn't mean that a 1 star is a bad buy. It really doesn't. It just means that I am going to take it with a smaller size. Again, it's not a science. It's just something for me to be wary of. Don't take this with your whole account and leverage because you will go very, very fast. So that is my thoughts on airlines. Now, didn't cover Boeing there, and that's because it's not an airline, it's more aviation. But I do like Boeing as well for long term, but that's probably for another video. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments. What I want to know is, which is your favorite airline you're looking at? And if you want my thoughts, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to, you know, tell you my thoughts and figures on that said airline if I haven't covered it there. This was a very, very quick run through. I know it's been a long video and I'm sorry for that, but my favorite airline that I'm looking at to buy in the next 30 days is none of them. And the reason being is I just think there's still too much risk there for me. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be EasyJet or Ryanair, but probably EasyJet just because I think it's better value. And if I bought it for 2 years, I do think I would make money. But the reason I'm not buying airlines right now is I just think there's better value in different market sectors. I do think airlines will go up long term, but I don't want to be sat in a position for the next 2 years and it doing nothing. I do think they'll go up in 2 years. I do think they'll go up probably by the end of the year, but I do think there's safer growth elsewhere. So that's my thoughts and figures. That said, I'll probably go and buy EasyJet tomorrow because I'm quite indecisive sometimes when it comes to airlines, especially when it comes to airlines. That said, tomorrow I'll probably be buying EasyJet. So if you want to find out if I did, you need to join the chat room in the description. $10 a month, some decent long-term traders in there. If you're interested in day trading, there's a day trading chat room as well, but that comes at the extortionate price we charge of $20 a month. We go live every single day on the mic in that day trading chat room, and long term, every single week, I post my current positions, current holdings, and buys and sells as they happen. Isn't that like a game show? As they happen. Or have I just made that up? If you know what that's from, let me know in the comments. Please do praise the YouTube gods by hitting that like button, subscribing, and turning on the bell. If you're interested in trading and you just want to stalk a guy with a beard, check out these 2 videos on screen now, and I'll see you in the next one.